Cool, dude. Welcome back to the shop, Matt. We're here just tuning, playing with a little something different today. This has been a little not long going. Cool projects take a lot of time, organization, planning. And this project is a CRF 450 street legal. So here in Ontario, we have things called blue plates. So you have the chassis and it can keep the blue plate with it. And then it's always what that chassis is. And you can put plates on it. You can drive it on the street. So the smart thing to do is you take an older 500cc two-stroke motor that Honda developed and you make it fit in this. So you can have one of probably the most badass street supermoto bikes I can think of. I've always been a dirt bike kid. That's kind of what got me into playing with stuff. I grew up, my dad got me the dirt bike and he had a dirt bike. My buddy who we're building this for is a good customer of mine who has tons of cool projects that I'll always be bringing light of because he's got a non-stop rotisserie of cool shit for me to do all the time, so I'm never complaining. And then another good friend of mine who I've known for years, who used to race motocross with, Dustin, is the guy who's making it all happen. So this is like a team effort between myself for all the fabrication stuff, Dustin for engine planning. We'll throw some links to his stuff, his page, MX Garage. He's well known around our area out here. He builds some really badass machines for some really good racers. So we'll kind of just go over the details of what is involved of making this fit in here. We got some cool parts in that we've been waiting for, some exhaust pieces, because once I have this motor mounted in, you still got to modify a couple other things. We got to get the exhaust pipe in there, then we got to make the radiator, and we got two radiators on here. It's a coolant, the coolant lines. So we got to put the little baby radiators here, modify the radiator, fit the coolant in. We got to throw this sweet expansion chamber that we got, which is super trick. I feel that's kind of one of the main attractions, other than this super badass, 500 cc's of two-stroke goodness. Like, let's go. I think that's a pretty sweet combo, but this is just the starting stages of it. I'll just post a bunch of photos because Matt wasn't with me when I started doing this, so I just have a bunch of photos. We're gonna kind of do a voiceover of the process of installing all these trick pieces on here. We have this full billet front fork, which has the spacing to allow the CR500 exhaust to kind of run through. We have our lower engine mounts. We have an upper billet mount that gets welded up to the top part of the chassis here, and then the rear swing arm mount, you change out the bushings and it directly fits the back of the CR500 motor. So it's literally a match made in heaven. Other than that, this is an old frame from 2006. It had years of being run and abused and scratched. So we cleaned up and blended a lot of the scratches and imperfections in the frame, and I just spent way too much time trying to make stuff look pretty on it. Same with the rear swing arm. Cleaned up all the chain guards and stuff on it. Just going over a bunch of little details on the motor itself, the valve cover, the engine casings, tran casings, and the frame, so that when we go get it coated, it's just gonna be like perfection. So yeah, other than that, we'll just go over a couple pieces on this piece of badass machinery, and then I'm gonna pick it up a little bit so I can throw the expansion chamber on there, and then Matt can kind of do a walkthrough on that, and I'll talk about it when I put it on, because it's definitely a lot of guys, if you're into fabrication stuff, you've probably seen it floating around on your Instagram page, just kind of like pops up and you're just like, damn son, where you find this? It's really epic. I'm pretty stoked on it. So that's what the cool thing is playing with a lot of cool projects for customers and people. I play with a lot of stuff I would never even think I'd get to play with. Like the last exhaust manifold I made, like a billet collector, like just cool parts that I can't afford. So it's nice when other people buy them and I can play with them. Let's go. Awesome. Let's change it around. I'll lift this up and we'll throw that pipe on there and kind of talk about that on our plan of action.
First, we got the frame on the table, jig table, got her mounted down, and we got to make some room for coolness. All these new parts going in. So we're trimming up the frame, sanding down all of the old aluminum that's on there, and you want to trim a little bit at a time because you can't really add it back in. So we take some measurements, cut the sections out that we need. We need to trim off all the old engine mount tabs as well because we're putting on new tabs. So again, measure twice, lots, cut lots. It takes a long time, but practice makes perfect, and you don't want to cut too much. So once we have that out, we start putting the motor in the frame to kind of see where it's going to contact. We have some old welds on the frame that we're just going to blend and clean up just to take all the scratches out, because this thing's getting powder coated after, so we want to have a really clean finish on it. So same thing on the swing arm, take off the chain guards, Then we use our little piston jack to move the frame a little bit to get that billet fork in there so that it can snap back in. Those are the rear engine mount tabs that come with it, so we got to trim those now to fit onto the frame and make everything fit in place. The rear swing arm has the correct bushing so we can throw that axle in. That's the billet mount up onto the rear head. Everything is just kind of coming together as you can see it right now. We got some tacks on it all in place, holding it all together, making sure everything fits right. We got those mounts all trimmed up, tacked onto the pads that they sit on. Same with the billet mount, a little zigzag on there to the head. Just cleaning it all up, double, triple checking everything. And this is where it starts coming together, and I get ready to put some fat weaves on everything because it's thick. I think we did better than Honda on it, so that's better. I'm not the best at aluminum, so it is what it is, but I'm fairly happy with the end result. It looks good. It looks better than what's on there. So same thing, once that's all on, we just kind of make sure that everything didn't move, because when you weld it all, like I couldn't weld it all with the motor in there, so obviously the motor's out, so I can get the insides welded now. Then we got to put everything back in again after, so we can just make sure everything's fitting nice and tight. But just taking lots of pictures. I'm glad I took a lot of pictures when I did this, so I can do something like this. Mostly I just take it for the customer, so I can kind of show them the process, all the steps. Especially this customer, really good customer of mine. He really likes all these little details like this. That's the head of the motor where it had just been gouged up from being pulled in and out of the bike a lot. So just grind it all down, blend it all in, just try and make it look new. Because again, it's all going to get coated. And we're going to link my buddy Dustin's page here. And he does some crazy stuff. You'll see if you're kind of into dirt bikes, you're going to be bricked right up. He makes some really, really nice stuff for bikes. And his attention to detail is next level. So when we're doing a job for him and my buddy Jason, who is also next level attention to detail, we are going to do the exact same. Do as much time as we can to make everything fit perfect. Again, motor is in for good now. This is pretty much me making sure everything fits good. And again, you can see those welds that I've cleaned up on the frame. They used to be big and beefy now, and I'm just trying to blend it all in, add some profiles to those pieces so that when it does get coated, you just see all the nice, like again, I'm an OG dirt bike kid. When these aluminum frames came out, it was a pretty cool flex. You used to sit there with a mother's polish and just kind of polish up the one section of the frame to make it look all prim and proper. It was definitely a flex. So it's not going to be fully polished. I told him to fully polish it, but he didn't want to go fully polished. But it's not for everybody, I guess. So again, just took tons of photos just to get a good idea of how everything fits in there. You can see the offset for, that's where the pipe's going to lay through to the back of the frame. A lot of the repeat kind of pictures, but again, lots of time taken into it. So I just took as many photos as I could just to kind of show them the process. And after this, we kind of moved towards playing with the motor after. I'm going to end up, after these pictures, pulling it right out of the frame. And then I pull it all apart and start to clean up all the castings on it. So these are going to be the final shots before that. Just going over it. It's a good sight. It's a big block swap. So that's the factory head. I called it the valve cover before. That's totally wrong. This is the head that goes on where your spark plug sits in for your two-stroke. So same thing, just taking pictures beforehand to show my customer what it kind of looked like, all blended up there. I don't know the exact color combo Dustin's got planned, but I'm sure he's got something slick up his sleeves to make this thing look extra spicy to match all the work and labor we've put into it. And just taking our time. You want to tape off all the surfaces. If you're sliding on the table, you don't want to ding it up because that's a pretty important surface you want to keep flat. That's just the chain that obviously was not sitting proper on there. We got a bunch of marks on the casing. So again, I like doing stuff like this. You just kind of get some nice SOS Scotch-Brite pads and you just go over all the little areas. I'm not a polisher. I'm not a finisher. But just adding that little extra care in there just to make it look a little bit better. Because I know once we do get all the casings coated, like, look at that. Look at that. It looks so much better. It was so not good looking before, and that just looks so much better. So I'm happy with the end result. That's all that matters to me, honestly. My customer is super happy with the end result. That's why he trusts me to play with it. And I only really take on projects like this for dudes who kind of appreciate the time into it. So shy of that, that pretty much wraps up all of the pieces on that motor. And now we're going to move towards playing with the piece de la resistance. And that's when Matt came here and we kind of threw it up in the bike. And as everything goes, you find out you need more stuff. So we got the final beautiful piece. So this is a full titanium expansion chamber made by 1744, I think it is, Race Creations. He's out in New Zealand. We ordered this a while ago, and it's just going to go with the theme of the bike. If you know me, you know I like some titanium and a nice blue-purple finish, and this thing is just nasty, dude. It's sick. Like, if you don't like that, I don't know what's going on, but it's sick. But as it is everything, we were missing a piece. We need a piece called an exhaust manifold, which we were waiting for. It's a little billet piece that bolts to the head, because again, this is just a mock-up motor. Everything's getting built up for it. So we threw this in there so I could try and make some mounts and film some video of that, and we couldn't do that because it didn't fully fit up into the head where we needed it. But we were here, the pipe was out of the box, and I lovingly took it out of the wrapping, so I was like, all right, we might as well get some beauty shots of this thing, man. Like, just look at it. It's awesome. But other than that, that's all we got for it for now. We're going to do another video as soon as we get more parts, and we'll catch you guys on the next one. Beauty. Beauty.